Welcome into 49ers Access. My name is Sterling Bennett, and today we have ourselves a guest. It is Maj joining us today to talk about Deebo Samuel, everything about the San Francisco 49ers wide receiver, what's happening with him, latest updates, and we have to ask the big question. Is Deebo Samuel's legacy tarnished by his trade requests? Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, leave that review on the audio podcasting platforms, and let's dive into the topics of today. First, Maj, how you doing? Thanks for joining the show today.
Doing great. Doing very well on this Tuesday afternoon, evening. Doing great. How about you?
I'm doing good. It's actually Thursday. The week's flying by.
Sorry. Tuesday,
no,
Thursday.
Good,
I looked up at my MacBook. I saw the T and I was like, hey, it's Tuesday. No, never mind. It's Thursday. The week's going by fast. This week has gone by really fast. It's kind of weird.
Well, it's rainy out where I'm at in California in the desert. It's storming out here, so we're all bunkered inside trying to stay warm. But I can tell you what, Maj, the Deebo Samuel news is keeping me on the laptop, on the phone, reading it constantly. And yesterday we got some interesting news from Tim Kawakami of the San Francisco Standard. And I quote here from Tim Kawakami stating, I checked around a little bit on Deebo Samuel's situation and asked if this is at all similar to 2022. He said no, very different. At this point in time, San Francisco and their relationship with Deebo Samuel is not good. Things are not great. It's been a Deebo and Kyle Shanahan love fest, and that's been it out there in San Francisco. But they are ready to move on, ready to let Deebo Samuel be an ex-49er very, very soon. And I want to get your take because when I first saw this happen, when I first heard the trade request, it was like 5 a.m. on last Sunday, Super Bowl Sunday.
Yeah.
I was like, thank God. He's getting ahead of this. Thank God we can finally get off of Deebo Samuel's contract.
Yes. This whole thing is just weird. First of all, I see he requested trade, and I'm like, you know what? Good, fine, great. Go ahead. I don't want Deebo anymore. So go ahead. Go to another team. And then I see him quote tweet Adam Schefter's tweet with like praying hand emojis, and then in my head I'm like, and then he does the thing of him wearing the Eagles jersey, and then it just adds up, and I'm like, the main thing in my head is like, who does this guy think he is? Like, who does he think he is? Because you had 670 yards this season, 670, something like that, not good at all. You were supposed to be our wide receiver one since Brandon Aiyuk went down with an injury, and did you step up? No. You played horrendous in like 4 straight games. You had you had a pretty good game against the Dolphins when it didn't matter at all, which congratulations. But otherwise, like, what did he do all season? He didn't do anything. And then he does that stupid tweet saying, I'm not getting the ball. I'm not getting the ball. And then we give you the ball the whole game during the Rams game, and you didn't do anything again. And then you request a trade now. And then like this whole trade request thing, it's acting like he wasn't the problem, but Deebo was the problem here. He was. And I kind of feel like he doesn't think that, and he thinks he's still like a top 20 wide receiver in this league. I personally don't think Deebo's even top. I don't think Deebo's top 30.
It's hard to disagree with you, but honestly, the writing was on the wall. Go back to draft day in 2024. The minute that 31st overall pick came across the ticker, and it was Ricky Pearsall out of Florida, wide receiver, I think everybody said it's either Brandon Aiyuk or it's Deebo Samuel who's going to be gone. Now, at the time, you assumed Brandon Aiyuk would be gone because of the contract stuff and whatever, but you can see the vision of we got 2 potential receivers that can separate against man press coverage, that can go out there and get open and actually be open during Super Bowls against the Kansas City Chiefs, hopefully.
Because Deebo's really good at doing that. Deebo's really good at getting open. Really good.
One of the worst separators in all of football, despite being a wide receiver. But you can see the vision playing out. And I think maybe to some degree we were kind of shocked they kept Deebo or Aiyuk last year. But okay, one final year, take one big swing and go for it. Things obviously didn't work out with San Francisco being in last place this season. But this is a long time coming. You can tell, even go back to 2022 when he wanted out, he wanted to get traded. San Francisco had to know the way Deebo Samuel plays, the position in which he plays, which is funny enough, not really a position at all, being wide back, that the clock was ticking on how long Deebo Samuel was going to be a San Francisco 49er. But I got to ask you this. Are the San Francisco 49ers better with or without Deebo Samuel?
Very simple answer. It's better. Deebo, let's say, I think even if Deebo had a great year, I still think you got to get rid of him. Deebo kind of seems like a little bit of a cancer in the locker room. Like you don't listen. First of all, cancer in the locker room, and that Tabor Pepper incident. Personally,
it's bad.
I would have cut him right there. Because Deebo, if you take a look at Deebo's jersey, he has a letter on it, and it's a C, and that C stands for captain. You're supposed to be a captain on this team, and you punch not even just like a wide receiver. You punch our long snapper in the face, like
gave him a karate chop to the neck.
That's what he did. And if Deebo in that situation would have went over to Jake Moody, like, yo, Jake, lock in. Like, listen. I'm not gonna lie. I was getting mad at Jake Moody that game. I think all us Niners fans were.
Yeah, he missed 3 kicks. How could you not get mad at him?
Exactly. But Deebo, you're on national television punching a long snapper. And I was even saying this to Grant Cohn. I was like, if this was happening in a practice, if you did this in a practice, that's bad. But it's not on national television for everyone to see. Like, I think Deebo should have been cut right there. So I think Deebo leaving this team, yes, I think the Niners benefit from this because we saw it in the last 2 games. When the Niners were using Ricky Pearsall, he had 210 yards in the last 2 games? He looked better than Deebo. And a lot of people also say in the past, it was like, you can't replace a guy like Deebo. You can't replace a guy like, well, in 2024, 2025, you can replace that Deebo easily because it's not the 2019-20 Deebo. It's not that Deebo. It's just a kick returner. That's basically that's what Deebo is. Deebo is a great kick returner. That's what Deebo is. So yes, I think the Niners will definitely benefit if he ends up leaving the team, which he will.
Well, it's funny you bring up, people that said you can't replace a Deebo. I think most people would have said that after 2021.
Exactly.
For a season, 14 touchdowns. He even threw a touchdown. You were like, oh my God, he's incredible.
Exactly.
But the minute he signs the contract, and we'll get into kind of the contract in a second, but I was in that group that said Deebo's fantastic. You can't replace him.
No.
The minute Jimmy Garoppolo was no longer this team's quarterback, that idea changed. Brock Purdy, in my opinion, does not need Deebo Samuel to be successful. Other quarterbacks may, but Brock Purdy, who was going to get paid a lot of money this offseason, who you're going to build around, you don't need Deebo Samuel for Brock Purdy.
No.
You need Ricky Pearsall. You need Brandon Aiyuk, Jawan Jennings, George Kittle. You need those guys in the locker room. But even then, on the field with Kyle Shanahan, I think if you take away Deebo Samuel, who has been known to be Kyle Shanahan's favorite player, who has been known to be a player that Kyle Shanahan will completely write game plans around. And once he gets hurt, it's out the door. No one has no idea what's going on out there for the offense. You remove that from the equation. I think it opens up everything for them. It simplifies stuff. It makes Kyle not be so one player focused offensively and maybe even more importantly, it almost makes Kyle have to say, you know what, maybe I should feature the other 3 offensive players in this offense that can actually do something for us for a change.
And maybe feature the guy that you drafted in the first round.
Right.
Like, why did it take him? I even thought Jacob Cowing should have got some reps in. I didn't like Jacob Cowing in that Chiefs game. He came in, Purdy threw a bomb down the field, Cowing caught it. Like, why not play Cowing? Like, that I agree with everyone when they say when it was the 2020 season, you can't replace Deebo. You couldn't because Deebo was one of one. You never saw it. Deebo was breaking off tackles. You put him at running back. He's running 30 yards. Like he was not even, I thought he was kind of better at route running back then too. Like his slants were better. I thought he was a little bit quicker. Maybe it's because he was a little bit slimmer, but it's just Deebo. I think he's too, I'm trying to think of the word, too like hot-headed, not hot-headed, but he's too high on himself. Like he still thinks
there's definitely an arrogance there, an ego.
An ego. That's exactly what I still feel like he has an ego and he still thinks that he's super good, but he doesn't look at the numbers, Deebo. You had 670 yards this season. Like Jawan Jennings, our wide receiver 3, had more yards than you. It's not adding up.
it's okay for a player to still believe in themselves. Deebo's 29 years
100%,
old. Like
100%.
in his mind, he's thinking, I can still contribute for somebody. Now, we don't exactly know what went wrong with San Francisco outside of Kyle Shanahan and Deebo Samuel. However, it seems pretty clear that the downwards in play, the contract situation, the money owed to him, they said, look, the juice is no longer worth the squeeze. But on top of that, you can look at this from San Francisco's point of view, which makes the most sense. They'll be here when Deebo Samuel's gone. However, you have to look at this from Deebo Samuel's perspective too. There's not many teams out there that can feature a Deebo Samuel as either the number one receiver on their offense, or there aren't many schemes that need a Deebo Samuel. Obviously, you point to teams like the Packers, teams like the Rams, and other Shanahan-like schemes, but a lot of offenses nowadays don't focus their offense around players like Deebo Samuel anymore, which kind of feeds into what Chad Johnson said, saying the grass isn't always greener. And so I wonder, while Deebo may want to get out and is frustrated, that's fine. It's valid. It's how he feels. Cool.
Whatever.
I just don't know what other team can feature and give Deebo Samuel exactly what he wants as a player anymore.
But you say the scheme, you say Deebo as a player, but what team wants a guy that punches their long snapper? I'll bring that up again. What team wants that? No team wants a guy that's tweeting, I'm not getting the ball. I'm not doing this. It's like, what team wants that? Like, what team genuinely looks at Deebo and is like, okay, did you punch your long snapper? Did you tweet that you want the ball? You know what? I want you. Like, to be honest, I can't think of a team that wants Deebo right now. You talk about the Ravens, you talk about even the Packers, but did you not see that one Packers player? They don't even want Deebo.
It's right, because Keyshawn Nixon was like, you can keep him away. Don't bring him here. Which is funny, too, because the Packers, although a little different than the Commanders, they won it. Brandon Aiyuk last year. And I think a lot of the conversation stems from like, okay, Adam Peters is there now. There's a lot of similarities to San Francisco, how they do things in the front office and whatnot. But Deebo is such a different player than Brandon Aiyuk was. The ages are different. And I'm sure Deebo can contribute to what they do out there in Washington. But I just wonder, for a player of his age, like if you're San Francisco, you can cut him and you can give him the freedom to go out there and sign whatever contract he'll get. But if you're the Niners, I don't want to cut him. No. Not because I want to keep him, but I want to get value back from him.
But what value are you going to get? Because right now, it's like, what are you going to get in return for Deebo? Right now, I think what I saw on Instagram was I don't think he even wants to go for a day 3 pick. Like he wants to I don't know. Like, what pick are we going to get for Deebo? I've seen 6th. I've seen 5th at best for a guy that we thought this guy was our guy, and now we're going to trade him for a 5th round pick. It's like, I would do it, but there's a lot of people like, oh no, keep him on the team. But it's like, if it's a 5th round pick, just do it.
I mean, there is an angle that the Niners could feasibly, in regards to financials, keep Deebo on the roster. Like, that's possible. That's budgeted for. Yeah. However, if he wants out, and he's already said he wants out, he's out there liking Instagram posts, saying he wants out, he's out there tweeting, confirming things. Like, okay, he's done. San Francisco, okay, like, we're moving on. The Niners, though, tend to overvalue all of their players. And a lot of teams do this, but it happened with Jimmy Garoppolo, it's happening with Deebo Samuel, and it has happened with Deebo Samuel the past couple of seasons, whether it was 2022 and even this past year's draft where he could have gone for a 2nd-round pick or a 1st-round pick. They said no. I just wonder that if someone comes to the table saying, hey, here's a 5th-round pick, which I think is an accurate value for him, they're going to say, no, give us a 3rd-round pick. And there's not going to be a team wanting to make that deal with San Francisco at all.
Maybe no, like there. If your general manager is smart, you're not going to want to. There's no way that John Lynch is saying that. Deebo is not worth a 3rd-round pick. He is not. Deebo is max worth a 5th. This is what I don't understand though. Is Deebo thinks like. I would love to talk to Deebo. That's one. I would love to just chat with him and ask him what he thinks he's worth. Because I bet Deebo would say oh, I'm worth a 2nd. I'm worth a 2nd overall. I'm worth 2nd round. No, you're not. He just doesn't understand that. And 2, it's the main thing about this whole conversation is Deebo leaves, and who do you think our wide receiver room's fine after that? Do you think
It's a good question.
That's the thing that I'm kind of scared about as well. Because do we trust in Aiyuk coming back from that ACL, MCL, what else was it? It was like every part of his knee just exploded.
Everything.
And then you got Jawan Jennings, which love Jawan, but he is kind of slow. And then you got Ricky Pearsall, which I do love Ricky Pearsall. I think he's an absolute dog. But like, what do you think the Niners should go out in free agency, go out? It's like, that's the one thing that I'm kind of scared about. Still want Deebo to go. I don't want him on the Niners anymore. I think he brings this team down, but it's just like, do we just ride with these three guys or like, right?
Right. So my assumption is you have Pearsall, you have Jennings, they have Cowing. They're probably going to re-sign Chris Conley. They like him a lot. But then you're left in limbo with the Aiyuk situation and his injury. I wouldn't be shocked if they draft somebody, but oddly enough, despite how much money and how much draft capital this team has poured into the receiver position, they are always connected to Devontae Adams and T. Higgins, and
we're connected
Amari
to
Cooper.
Everyone at this point. At this point, we're connected to everyone. I swear, I go on my phone, I'm scrolling, and it's like Niners are connected to this guy. Niners are connected. Yeah. I'm like, are we just connected to every single player in the NFL, or like what's going on?
Which it's funny because you hear these big names, and I don't know about you, but I scoff at every single one of them. Of course, you'd want them to come here. They're great players. You say, yeah, why not? But you have Christian McCaffrey on big money deals. You just signed to Brandon Aiyuk last year. We'll see how that goes. But you have George Kittle, who you're probably going to extend this offseason, free up some more cap space, keep him here long term. You're going to have to re-sign Jordan Mason to a certain extent. I don't know what they're going to do with his tender they can give him. You have Garendo. Like, this team poured into this offense so much last offseason. I don't know if you can afford to neglect the defense or pour big money further into the offense when you have so many needs on the offensive line, on the defensive line, in the secondary now. Like, I hear these big names, and I just check them off. Nope, every single time. But yesterday, I think it was, ESPN's Nick Wagner listed a few potential replacements for Deebo Samuel. And I want to get your opinion on these ones. The first one is Amari Cooper, a wide receiver that this team was connected to last offseason. Had they traded Brandon Aiyuk, the agreement was, if Aiyuk signed off on it, Aiyuk's going to Cleveland, San Francisco's getting Amari Cooper and a second-round pick. Deal didn't happen, obviously, but what would you think about getting Amari Cooper in red and gold this year?
Amari Cooper. I mean, this year was a down year. He had like 550 yards. On the Bills, he didn't like, I kind of didn't even really notice him, but maybe it's because he needs a full off season with the team. Because Amari Cooper with the Browns, he was a dog. Like people were putting him in the top 20, and I wasn't debating with them. I was like, yeah, he is top. I think he's a great route runner. If you're personally asking me what I want Amari Cooper, 100%, because I think with a full offseason, gets in reps with Purdy, does all that, he'd be better. I just think with the Bills, it was kind of like a fast change. Just boom, go into the Bills. It's different environment there, different coaching, different scheme, everything. So it kind of took him a little bit to get adjusted. But if he has a whole offseason with the Niners to learn Shanahan's scheme, all that, I would be down to get Amari Cooper. Why not?
The way I view Amari is, I know PFF projects him to sign a 2-year deal around like $15 million per year, which you can add void years and lower cap hits and whatnot. I just wonder, he played 14 games last year, didn't have a great year, he had 4 touchdowns. He wasn't the number one guy the Buffalo Bills wanted him to be, but he can still play. Like him and Joe Flacco, like you said, were out there balling in Cleveland, 2 years ago now. Like they were the reason the offense.
Do you remember
so well?
Do you remember that one catch that Joe? I don't know who he made it on, but it was either no, it wasn't Deshaun. I forget what quarterback was playing. I think it was Dorian Thomas or whatever, Thompson. I mean, do you not remember the game where it was against Cleveland? It was when the Niners took their first L. It's because Moody missed that field goal, and then Amari Cooper made that one-handed sideline catch. Do you remember what catch I'm talking about?
Honestly, I have scrapped all 3 losses back to back to back in my head.
But after this, go look at that catch, because like Amari can do stuff like that. He probably still can with a full season with the Niners. Full off season, why not? I wouldn't mind that.
He also fits what Shanahan likes to do. Like, he'd be a more vertical threat. His A-dot this past year is around 12 yards. So, like, there is verticality to his game still. He can play the sidelines, which is really what you want for Brock Purdy. You already have these up the middle guys. You have McCaffrey, you have Jawan Jennings, you have George Kittle. They don't have the boundary guy right now without Aiyuk out there. So You add Cooper to the offense, then eventually whenever Aiyuk comes back, probably sometime in November, you walk out there with a recovering Brandon Aiyuk, Ricky Pearsall, who hopefully by, I guess, 1 year and a half is up to speed and looks like a first-round pick. You have George Kittle, hopefully healthy. You have Christian McCaffrey, hopefully back to being the offensive player of the year he once was. Like, there's so much to like with the idea of Amari Cooper, but my main concern is Robert Saleh's back. He wants to fix those trenches. He wants to pour money on to the defensive side, which makes sense. You're probably going to spend much of your draft capital on defense this year, maybe barring a couple of picks. I think they're going to lean a cheaper option, but Nick Wagoner says that players like Robert Woods or even Darius Slayton could be cheaper options to kind of be that number 2, number 1-ish receiver for you in the meantime. And I like both those guys, albeit Robert Woods is older, probably way past his prime. He's a good run blocker. I don't know how much he adds to your offense via the passing game, but I really want to get Darius Slayton in San Francisco if you can.
That would be nice, and I do agree with Robert. Like, this whole offseason, man, it's trenches. Like, we usually focus on getting the T. I know we're not getting T. Higgins, too expensive, but we're usually the type of team like, oh, let's get the T. Higgins, let's get the sexy players, let's get those sexy positions. No, this offseason, man, it's gonna be rough for us Niners fans. We're not gonna sign those flashy players, and if there's one player that I really want the Niners to draft is the Niners to sign is Falcons center Drew Dalman. That's the one guy I want. He's an amazing center. We've seen the Niners sign centers before. Alex Mack to a 3-year deal, $15 million. I think Dalman is a great scheme fit. He's only 26 years old. He was 4th among centers in PFF grade. If I'm looking right here, his run blocking grade, he was 79.8, which was 5th. His pass blocking grade wasn't the greatest. He was 22nd, but he only gave up 10 pressures. And I think the center is one of our biggest needs going into this offseason. And maybe if we don't get Dalman, we draft someone. I love Jake Majors, but I would love a Drew Dalman. And then there's a DJ Jones, but I do think DJ Jones is a little bit too overpriced. I think he might want a lot more money than we can give him.
Which is funny because you bring up DJ Jones, and in my mind, earlier in the offseason, prior to Deebo Samuel asking for a trade, I was saying, okay, what is like this perfect offseason you can have? And I was talking about Myles Garrett and getting DJ Jones, and obviously
Max Crosby.
Right. Like, not the most realistic offseason, but like you could technically do it if you want to go for one big swing.
Yeah.
And probably isn't the smartest thing in the world, but I do think there is a place, which the reason why I bring that up is because Lori Matthews here says I was talking about Myles Garrett last week, getting everyone to buy in, which I think it could happen. It's going to cost a lot, but it can certainly happen. But that goes back to this trenches. Like, I have a hard time believing that a player like Amari Cooper comes here. He may want to come here. The fit makes a lot of sense, but when you start talking about $15 million per year, it's like, like as soon as you hit double digits per year, that's when you start to get a little nervous about what San Francisco wants to do. Because take last year, for example, and probably this year as well, I have a hard time buying into the fact this team is going to pay a number 3 cornerback $10 million. You hear DJ Reed's out there, you see, Carlton Davis from the Lions, and you're like, that's great, but they're going to want $12 to $13 million per year. Meanwhile, a guy like Isaac Yaden was signed for $3 million last year. Now, he wasn't great, but that feels like it's more of the fit they're going to want, a cheaper veteran option on cornerback side and on the receiver side. Like, they're not going to want to pay big money for a guy if they don't have to.
Well, like, how much money are we going to have? Like, with Purdy's contract signing, if we sign him to, I pray it's not 60 mil, but let's say it is 60 mil, how the hell are we going to be able to sign some players? Like DJ, like, listen, I do think we need a corner. Love Ronaldo Green. Love Diamador Lenore. Those two guys are dogs. But after that, it's like, we got really no one there. Isaac Edom loved his celebration. Every time he got a pat, like, he'd go like this. Loved the celebration. Love that. But it's just like, he didn't do this very much because he was kind of getting cooked a lot. So
right.
I think we do have to invest into the cornerback. DJ Reed, very, very good player. And the Niners drafted him. Yeah. Right. And then, of course, we let him go. But he played with Saleh. Maybe he would take a cheaper. you got to realize too, maybe some of these players take a cheaper deal to come to San Francisco to create a winning team, because I do think this team has a lot of holes on it. If you just go through it, safety, we might have a hole with Hufanga leaving. Jair Brown in his rookie year, he looked great. And then this year, he just went like, and he fell off a cliff. Like, tight end, you could even say, who's our backup tight end, man? We got no one. We got Eric Saubert. Woo! Eric Saubert, what a great, like,
Jake Tonjes.
It's literally just George Kittle. And someone even said in your chat, they were like, we need a backup for Kittle. Like, we need a backup for him. And then another person, they need a backup tight end to allow Kittle to be a bigger part of the offense. And I 1000% agree. But I think there's so many different positions that are like, I think we have a lot of starters on this team, but after the starters, there's nothing really there. And I think one of the biggest positions I think we need is safety. And Nick Talks Niners in the chat says draft Texas safety. Makuba. That's the one guy. I don't know if you know who that is.
Yeah.
Andrew Makuba. That's one guy I want really bad. I don't know. I think because I'm a Texas guy as well. When I went to San Fran one time, that was the first ever college
Texas
game I
guy.
ever.
Dude, I'm Boomer Sooner for life out here in California.
We beat you guys this year.
Oklahoma, baby.
Yeah, we beat you guys this year. But Andrew Makuba is a dog. That's what one guy I would love. I just think we gotta address the trenches and fill in like the backup. A lot of our backup positions are just not good. Not good.
The way I look at San Francisco currently is they're like an iceberg. They're all up top. Above the water, you like it a lot. But as soon as you start chipping away under the water, it's super thin.
Exactly.
And you're like, okay, like if everyone stays healthy, things look great. From the outlook,
100%.
Cool. Like, you have all these stars that can go a long way. You pay Brock Purdy. Like you have the pieces in place to, like, your ceiling is super high. However, because you don't have the cornerstones, the literal trenches built, like you don't have any fortification. And I think for San Francisco, this year is going to be, let's fortify everything. Let's not raise the ceiling. Let's raise the floor. I think that was a major issue last year for them. And I think as of right now, you can disagree and that's fine. I think this team is built to win a Super Bowl. However, a lot of that hinges on how can you build up your depth, build up your number 2 guys, not your number 1 guys. That said, kind of steering us back to Deebo Samuel, it all depends on what they can get for him. Is it a 3rd round pick? Probably not. Probably a 5th round pick. However, San Francisco does pretty good in the 5th round. George Kittle, Dre Greenlaw, Talanoa Hufanga.
Yeah.
But I do want to ask you this. The way Deebo Samuel has handled the trade request, the way he handled this year alone, didn't play great. You already mentioned, giving a Pepper the karate chop on the sideline, going on social media. Then when he goes on social media, the next game doesn't back it up. Drops a massive would have been touchdown against the Rams. Then he ends the year super strong, and you're like, where was this all season? Now we're here today. Do you believe that Deebo Samuel's legacy has been tarnished by how this year has gone?
For me, I don't. Well, like, do you mean like, do I think his legacy's tarnished with the Niners? That's what you asked.
Right. So like the play is there. He had 2019. It was insane rookie season. 2021 was incredible. But the way the contract played out, the way he's handled things this year on and off the field, is your lasting memory of Deebo Samuel, oh, wow, great player? Or is it, I hate the way you handled 2024 and it's kind of rubbed me the wrong way?
Oh, yes. The second one. My reaction is I can't wait till this guy gets traded off of this team. I'm thankful for everything Deebo's done, man. He's had up and down games, but man, when Deebo's on, he's on. He's a great wide receiver. But the way he's handled this whole situation, I don't like him at all right now. Like, first of all, him in the Eagles jersey. What are you doing? What are you like? Listen, I understand supporting your friend. Do it. 1000% do it. But you couldn't wear an AJ Brown college jersey. You couldn't do something, wear just a shirt of AJ Brown. You had to wear a jersey that Deebo, you literally said you hated the Eagles, but now you're wearing their jersey. You're FaceTiming AJ Brown right after they won the Super Bowl. You're getting all hyped. I'm telling you right now, if we would have won the Super Bowl last year, AJ Brown is not calling Deebo Samuel after that game.
Not a chance.
Not a chance. You think AJ Brown's going to the Super Bowl thing before like this? Where was Deebo wearing that Eagles jersey. He was at like the Super Bowl, like they're playing like Madden, Radio Row, right? You think AJ Brown's wearing a Niners Deebo Samuel jersey at Radio Row? No, he's not. And then you see Deebo post on his close story on Instagram. You see him, it's like a graphic of him wearing a Broncos jersey, and you see him say, that would be so tough. And he's like, he's already left the Niners already. He posted a podcast clip yesterday. It was him wearing that Eagles jersey, and he was like, oh yeah, the Broncos, I think they got some dogs on their team. If they add some more dogs, I think they'd be even better. But Deebo, they don't want to add. You're not a dog, Deebo. You're a puppy now. Like 2020 Deebo, that was a dog. Deebo now, he's a puppy. I don't listen. I think Deebo's legacy for me, there's sometimes there's been moments I've loved Deebo, but right now, the way he's leaving this Niners team, I do not like Deebo Samuel at all. And I'm glad that he's leaving this team.
It reminds me of, although it's very different, it reminds me of when Terrell Owens wanted out of San Francisco. Again, There's a lot of differences there. T.O. was more of an off-the-field distraction kind of guy, but they had a deal in place to send Owens to the Ravens for a second-round pick, and he wouldn't go. He said, nope, I'm not going to Baltimore. Now, obviously, it's been 20-plus years since then. Things have changed. Both teams are insanely different. However, I do wonder if, because Deebo is under contract, he can refuse to go play elsewhere. Do you think, let's say a team broaches San Francisco, say it's the Commanders, say it is the Ravens again, and says, look, we're desperate. We didn't get a receiver in the draft. We got to get a guy. If they come to San Francisco and say, we'll give you a third-round pick in 2026. Now, to San Francisco, it's like, we'll drive him to wherever he needs to go.
Yes, I will drive him. I'll personally drive from Canada to pick up Deebo Samuel to drive him there.
But do you think Deebo would say, nope, I don't want to play there. I'm not going. Like, do you think Deebo, in a way, has veto power over San Francisco? Does he have some leverage over the Niners right now?
That's a hard question, man, because I don't do I think Deebo has leverage over the Niners? Maybe a little bit. Do I think Deebo's the type of person to say, no, I don't want to go there? 1,000%. Let's see
take the great one here. He says, I can't see Deebo playing in Carolina, even if he wants to win, he ain't going to Carolina. Now, that's his hometown team. But let's say that team says, hey, we'll give you a third-round pick. Deebo's like, I want to win a Super Bowl. I'm not going there. That becomes a massive problem. And then the fines come in. I think there's a way Deebo can further tarnish his legacy if things get nasty.
100%. Deebo's that type of guy. He's that type of person. Deebo's kind of showing his true colors a little bit. We had a down season this year. Yeah, it's fine. But Deebo, I've said this to all my friends too about this whole trade request and everything. If Deebo had 1,000+ yards and he requested a trade, you know what, Deebo? Fine. Go ahead. Just leave. Whatever. Doesn't matter. You balled out this year. Go ahead. You had 670 yards. You're not special anymore. And then someone in your chat, where was it? Deebo gets traded or June 1st cut. Maybe he gets June 1st cut. The main thing, he cannot be on this team going into next year. He already requested a trade once before. Now he's requesting another trade. The man does not want to wear red and gold. You got to get rid of him. And I'm kind of happy. Deebo requested a trade. It's been a long time coming. I think Lynch and Shanahan, they weirdly have an obsession with Deebo for some reason. It's kind of weird. It is a little bit weird. And it's taken Deebo to request a trade for now them to finally realize Deebo should not be on the team anymore, which I'm happy about. It's going to be good for the Niners that Deebo's leaving this team. I'm genuinely happy because I felt he brought this team down against the Bucs. We're winning that game. We weren't even playing that bad. That was Pearsall's first touchdown, CMC's return, and then what does Deebo have to do? Makes it all about himself. It's Super Bowl Sunday. Everyone's worried about Eagles, Kansas City. What does Deebo do? Schefter drops the news on that day. Deebo's posting the praying hand emojis. He just has to make everything about himself. So this offseason, that's what he's going to do. If he can make it about himself, he's going to do that.
Which is funny because a lot of this comes down to money, whether it was the contract he got in 2022, he asked for a trade, he wiped his social medias of anything related to the San Francisco 49ers, and he's posting videos on Facebook and TikTok and Instagram. He's doing everything he could to make his feelings known, to create some leverage for himself. But now, fast forward 2025, even then, money comes into play. The reason why Calachipto asks here, does he get traded or is he opposed to in first cut is because they have that $15 million option bonus due in March. That's 10-ish days, I believe, after the new league year begins. So if San Francisco wants to get the best bang for their buck, I think for a trade, they would keep Deebo, have him after post June 1st, see what teams don't get a receiver in the draft, and hope someone gets desperate. However, it's really hard to ask an owner, despite how rich they may be, to pay a guy who's not going to be here. Like, don't forget, they're giving Eric Armstead $15 million of the dead cap to not be here this year.
Yeah.
Like they did it with Trey Lance and other people, D Ford. At some point, although it's owners, it's not my money, I don't care. Jay York might say, I'm sorry, guys. Like, I'm not paying Deebo to not be here with a $31 million dead cap hit on the cap. And so I just wonder if maybe Deebo either forces San Francisco's hand or like the Niners could wait this thing out. Could say, nope, we have to pay Brock Purdy. Nope, we have to extend George Kittle. Nope, we have to sign our free agents. Nope, we got to sign our draft class. There is a way where San Francisco almost tells Deebo Samuel, just go sit in the corner for a couple of days and we'll get back to you.
Yes. Well, do that. Like, there's no rush to trade Deebo. Like, he's this whole Deebo talk. It's kind of the same. I've been saying the same thing. He deserves, like, he's so high-headed. His ego is through the roof. It's through the roof. Don't worry about Deebo right now. Deebo, leave him alone. Like you just said, let Deebo sit in the corner, pout, do whatever he wants. Worry about what you have to worry about to make this team better for this next upcoming season without Deebo Samuel being on that team. Then when you're done building that great team, then you can worry about Deebo. Okay, Deebo, where do you want to go? Blah, 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 this and that. Like, I'm honestly so happy that Deebo's gone. This is going to make our team so much better. I don't think we're going to have that much problem. Someone has said in your chat as well, like, do you think, like they said this, like, do you think this would be bad for the locker room, this whole Deebo contract talks? Because I don't think it would, man. I think, to be honest, if I was a player for the Niners, if I'm Tabor Pepper, I'm so happy right now. I'm so happy right now.
My life's not going to get threatened anymore playing football on the sideline.
I'm not going to get punched in the face anymore. Yes, I'm not going to get punched.
Man, I don't think this is bad. Like, I don't think players are going to take this personally. I don't think you're going to see players pout and say, well, you traded Deebo Samuel, I'm upset now too. Like, if you do, that's crazy. Like, this team has seen so many meaningful stars leave, whether DeForest Buckner, even Jimmy Garoppolo, for maybe as poor as his play may have been at times. Trey Lance was traded away. D Ford was brought in, then he was let go because of his injuries. We've seen, even last year, Jimmy Ward was gone. Like, we've seen this team not be afraid to make tough decisions, even with it being captains and leaders. So I don't think it'll matter that much. I do wonder, though, deeper in that locker room conversation, Deebo Samuel is supposed to be a tone setter, right? He's the energy. He's the boombox guy that comes out and now they're dancing. There's vibes. There's, when the game's on the line, at least in previous years, it was give Deebo the football. I don't know if that's like that, to me, may be the biggest drawback to this. Though, like, the vibes are off to a certain degree.
Yeah, you could see that. The boombox, I saw it. I think it was a TikTok. It was like, man, Deebo requested a trade. Who's going to be the boombox guy next to him? It's going to be Trent Will. Like, who's it going to be? Trent Williams and Pearsall? Maybe it's Pearsall. Pearsall seems like a guy. He's got dance moves. Scored the first touchdown. He's got dance moves. But I know Shanahan was like a coach and he's like, give Deebo the ball, give Deebo the ball. But it's not like that anymore. It's 2025. It's not like that. Like I said, you can replace Deebo. And if you would have told me, if there was a 2020 version of myself watching this right now, I'd be like, oh my gosh, you are like, I would call myself stupid. You can replace Deebo. He's irreplaceable. You can't find another Deebo. Now you can find another Deebo. And we drafted another Deebo last year. And of course, Ricky Pearsall's not built like Deebo, but I think in the last two games, you saw when we gave Pearsall the ball, he looked incredible. I thought he looked absolutely amazing. He looked like a Deebo Samuel, not breaking tackles, not doing this, but Deebo can't even do that anymore. Deebo's not even a good running back. Deebo, like I said, he's a $30 million punt returner. He looked really good at punt returning. Looked really good. I thought he was a great punt returner. Hey, maybe we sign him with a cheaper deal to be our punt returner. How about that?
So just be the kick returner, and that's all you do.
Yeah, just kick return, get off the field. Kick return, get off the field. Boom.
I don't know how that would play with field position, but I mean, against Green Bay, had it not been got called back for an Eric Sauber holding call, it would have been a touchdown.
That was not holding, by the way. That was not holding. No. That was
I don't think you can get another Deebo Samuel. I just don't like. The NFL had a phase where it was like, we have to find the next Deebo. Laviska Shenault last year, Malachi Corley, the Titans and Treylon Burks, they wanted to find like a Deebo Samuel like player. I don't think it's about finding a new Deebo.
No.
I think Deebo Samuel, in a way, has been phased out of the NFL. Like
1,000%.
He'll get a job. He'll be semi-successful elsewhere. It's not saying that Deebo can't do Deebo Samuel things elsewhere, but I just think that with the way football's played now, you don't need a Deebo Samuel to be successful. Whereas a couple years ago, it was like, oh, he's the only guy we need to be successful. You have Christian.
If he was out of our lineup, you're like, oh gosh, this team looks different.
It's a loss.
This year, when he was getting 18 yards, you don't need a Deebo anymore. It's not 2020. You don't need a Deebo Samuel anymore. It's different. Times have changed.
Which I completely agree with you, which leads to my next question. Deebo Samuel's 3-year, $71 million contract he signed in 2022. Now, we have all the stats in front of us. 42 games, 288 total touches, about 96 per season, just under 2,800 scrimmage yards, about 929 per season, 21 total touchdowns, about 7 per season. No All-Pros, though. No Pro Bowls in that same time. Playoffs were not great either. 6 games, 45 touches, 406 yards, and just 1 touchdown in playoffs. When you look back at the contract, 1, do you think it's a failure? And 2, if you can go talk to yourself in 2022, if you can get in the year of Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch, do you make that deal again?
No, man. Like I yesterday, funny thing, I was arguing with a Cowboys fan. Because he was telling me Jalen Hurts is elite. He's elite. Put him in the categories with the Josh Allens, with the all that. And I'm like, we were having a debate, and he was like, well, I was saying Jalen Hurts had a better team than Brock Purdy in the Super Bowl. That's valid, right? He did, no? Right? And wide receiver wise, I think Devontae Smith's better than Smith's better than Deebo. I think AJ Brown's better than Aiyuk, right?
Sure.
He was like, well, like Purdy was still Purdy played all year, and you guys still were 6-11, 6-12, whatever it was, and you guys still had an all-pro Deebo Samuel. The first thing I said to him, I was like, when was the last time Deebo was all-pro? It was 2020. It was 5 years ago. Yeah, 2021. It was so long ago. What are you talking about? Deebo, no, he has not lived up to his contract at all. He is not. Like Deebo Samuel, if he was getting 900 plus yards a year or 1,000, but with that contract, you should be getting 1,000 plus yards a year. But he wasn't even getting close to that. Like this year just proves that contract was not worth it at all. Like a wide receiver 3 got more yards than Deebo. Jawan Jennings got more yards. And if you would have told me that a while ago, I would have laughed at your face. I would have laughed.
Well, and that comes with the expectations, right? You sign a massive deal at the time. You were this team's highest paid, I think, offensive player, above Kittle. You're above McCaffrey. You're, not anymore, but you were above Brandon Aiyuk before last offseason. The expectation was you're going to be an all-pro every single year. At least that's the hope. You're going to be in that conversation. Now, the way Deebo plays and the injuries are involved, I think I would still make the deal because at that time it was different. But this is kind of scary because what if Aiyuk ends up like Deebo? You just signed Aiyuk after that great year, and imagine Aiyuk. Hey, at the start of the year he didn't look as good, but I think you have to cut him some slack. He missed training camp, all that. But it's like, what happens if Aiyuk is like that too? Kind of scary. Yeah, I mean, the great thing about Aiyuk is that his skill set is able to be in any offense, any scheme. He just plays
better route runner.
Right, like it just plays more than Deebo's does. Deebo had to be jet sweeps and screens. Very rare do you see him go over the middle. There were times, but it was mostly slants. It wasn't deep crossers. It wasn't these long post routes. It was simply just 15 yards out, 12 yards out over the middle. Like that's where Deebo lives, which it works. Deebo was a one-man wrecking crew for a little bit of time, but I think objectively, I think Deebo Samuel's contract of 3 years was a failure. Like
100%.
After his first year in 2022, he comes into training camp because I was there. I was in the press room with him. He walks in and says, "That was trash. That was the worst play I put on tape in film ever. I never want to do it again." Now, to his credit, in 2023, he bounced back, although it wasn't all pro level. He had an amazing stretch after the bye week up until around the Ravens game. He was really good.
Really good.
But other than that, it's like you were really bad this year. You complained a lot this year. And so I think objectively, it's really hard to say Deebo Samuel's 3 year, $71 million contract was actually worth it in the long run. Playoffs, he wasn't great. During the regular season, there was ups and downs for sure, but he never was able to replicate a career season. Whereas you see other players, A.J. Brown, who signed at the exact same year Deebo did, with the exact same agent, they're best friends. Yep. A.J. Brown is still a top 10, top 15 receiver in football.
I think
Deebo has like cratered off the rankings. Like you said earlier, Deebo ain't even top 30 anymore. Like that's how bad the fall-off has been for him.
Yes, he's not even top 30. Like I will say I think AJ Brown's top 5. I think that guy is absolutely phenomenal. It's just Deebo, like I said, I've said this so many times live. He has a very big ego. Like if you ask him if he's top 10, what do you think he's saying? 1,000
for sure. For sure.
He's saying he's top 10 after the year that he just had. You're saying you're top 10? You're not even close to top 10. And I just feel this Deebo, I feel like he doesn't care about his body. Like Deebo doesn't look like he really cares anymore. 2021 Deebo, he was thick. Now he's like, it looks like he kind of let himself go. Like it looks like he doesn't care.
He's thick with 2 C's now.
Yes, he's a wide receiver. He's emphasis on wide. Like he doesn't look like he cares anymore. It's like Deebo's the type of player. If it's contract year, he's balling. But then after he signs on that dotted line, he does not give a crap. He does not care.
It's funny you bring that up because a lot of people will hear that and say, "Oh, you're body shaming." Well, don't take it from us. His college head coach said to Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch, "Look, Deebo's a great player. He can do so many great things for you, but you have to look out for him. You have to kind of keep an eye on him because he will let things go." And again, Deebo can get himself back into shape.
And he's a professional football player. He's a professional football player. You got all professional football players are in pretty good shape. And if you're a wide receiver, you're in pretty good shape. Like it's no body shaming, nothing. But go on. I think I know the story you're talking about.
Well, it's funny because like the Niners did that. Like the Niners forced Deebo to get in shape. He had an incredible 2021 season. They fed him. They let him eat constantly on the field, and he rewarded them with one really bad season, one inconsistent but overall really good season, and then one poor season. Like it was an overall, I won't say disaster, but a pretty upsetting way to reward the team that gave you $71 million for 3 years. However, if you're a big San Francisco Giants fan, I'm not sure if the Canadians are out there, but he's very much like Pablo Sandoval. The Giants won 3 World Series in San Francisco. A mainstay in that lineup, a guy that was hitting 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, that was a main part of their winning was Pablo Sandoval. He had a weight problem up and down, left and right, and they had to stay on him over and over and over again to make sure he can play third base, first base, and hit accordingly to what they needed offensively. He leaves San Francisco. He goes to Boston. His weight gets out of control. His belt breaks off during a swing, and it's a disaster out there in Beantown. Then he comes back to San Francisco. The weight's under control. He gets things back. So not to say Deebo Samuel is that exact same guy, but there is something about Deebo Samuel and his weight, his body. Now, I do think, which funny enough you bring this up, because I was there in training camp and OTAs. All the reports were saying Deebo Samuel's in the best shape of his career. And I'm not going to lie to you. I think Deebo Samuel plays better when he's thicker. I think this year you saw him not being able to break tackles. You saw him not having the same power he once did. Now, injuries play a part in that, but I'm almost saying Deebo Samuel may be a better player if he's a little thicker around the hips.
Yeah, I agree with that. But also, too, being that thick, it comes with injuries, and Deebo's kind of been injury prone throughout his career. And you talk about how he had a down year, then an inconsistent year. I think that's the type of player Deebo is. It's either he's injured or he's playing a whole season, but it's just Deebo is very, very inconsistent. Like, let's say he goes to the Ravens. The Ravens. Let's say he plays throughout the whole season. He's just going to be, Deebo's like this. He just goes up and down, up and down. There's some plays where he's, oh my God, what a play from Deebo. And then it's like, what the hell was that? Oh, great play. Oh, it's just up and down. It's up and down. It's just, and you can't be like that if you're getting paid that much money. You can't. You got to be pretty consistent. You can't just be up and down. And then there comes the injuries, all that. Deebo is just, I'm so happy that he's leaving this team. I'm thankful for everything that he did, but it's just it's time for him to move on. It's time for the Niners to move on.
Well, let's move on to discuss the futures of Dre Greenlaw and Talanoa Hufanga. But first, I want to let you know, if you want to save $20 off your first purchase at SeatGeek.com, use our promo code 49ERSAccess, 49 ERS ACCESS. Save yourself $20 off your first purchase on tickets, whether it's concerts or sporting events. Get yourself a small discount at SeatGeek.com. Also, if you want to perform like the GOAT, no, not Deebo Samuel, but Jerry Rice, you got to get yourself a can of GOAT Fuel, whether you're an athlete or normal folks like ourselves. GOAT Fuel can bring the best out of all of us. Click that link down below in the description and get yourself a can of GOAT Fuel down below. But let's talk about Dre Greenlaw and Talanoa Hufanga, because there was a report yesterday by Matt Barrows of The Athletic on KNBR, and it was kind of the Hufanga update didn't shock me. The Greenlaw one did, though, because I think the assumption was Dre Greenlaw's going to be back on a one-year deal with an incentive-based contract. He wants to be in San Francisco. The team's recruiting him back to San Francisco. He fits here. If he leaves in 2 years' time, whatever, but off the injury, he'll be cheap. Yet, Matt Barrows says, and I quote here, "I think the chances are better than not that Dre Greenlaw is gone. My sense is that Dre Greenlaw wants the opportunity to run his own shop." When you hear that, what do you think of it?
Damn. That's the main thing. I think, damn, man. I do think listen, Dre Greenlaw. I understand. I mean, he's kind of always been the second guy. It's been, Fred Warner this, Fred Warner that. And then Greenlaw was kind of like the second. Like, Fred Warner was like a Batman. Dre Greenlaw was like Robin. Like, that's kind of what it was. And there's sometimes in players' careers where they want to be their own man. And I don't know if anyone watches soccer, but it's like when Neymar was at Barcelona and then he went to PSG, he wanted to be his own man. So I feel, Greenlaw, go ahead and do that. But I just think teams got to watch out because he is kind of injury prone. If I was Greenlaw's agent, I would say play out 1 year here just to show people that you aren't injury prone. Then you could take a linebacker one job. But I'll kind of be shocked if a team gives him a contract that's linebacker one money because he is pretty injury prone. He showed it this year. He came back and then he got injured right away again. So I do think teams have to watch out for that.
Yeah, that's kind of my big concern with him is that I don't know what his market value is. And I don't think anybody really does.
No.
Because he played 34 snaps last year, got re-injured, which, okay, you expect there to be some wear and tear, that, some fatigue was the word they used after the Rams game. And okay, fine. But then the Dolphins game came and when he played 4 snaps and got seriously hurt again. So for Greenlaw, kind of like Deebo, it really comes down to what is somebody else willing to pay you. And I have a hard time believing another team wants to make him the number one guy because you're taking a big risk.
Yes.
Even if San Francisco brings him back, let's say it's a 1 year, $8 million deal, it's a fairly large risk for a player that you just don't know if he can stay healthy the entire year. But I want to ask you this, because of the updates of Dre Greenlaw. Same thing for Talanoa Hufanga, not going to come back next year, it seems like. Of the two, who's more important to bring back? If you had to pick one, who do you have to have playing for San Francisco next year?
It's got to be Dre Greenlaw. Like everyone, because I was a Niners fan, whenever someone talks about that Super Bowl, I say the reason we lost was because Dre Greenlaw's injury. And then, of course, they're always, oh, how many All-Pros do you need? You already got Warner, Bosa, all those All-Pros. How many blah, 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 blah. But it's like Greenlaw, if you look at it, he's the heart of that defense. And I think it's going to be Robert Saleh's job to keep him here. Of course, John Lynch's job as well, Shanahan's job. But we got to keep we have to keep Greenlaw. It's a must. He's the heart of our defense. When Greenlaw came back, look at how different it looked. When Hufanga came back, it was like, okay, yeah, Hufanga's back. Congrats. But when you saw Greenlaw, you're like, holy crap, our defense looks way different. It looks really good. And then he got injured again. So I think this offseason, like, we just got to hope and pray he does not get injured again like that. Well, last year he made all the way to the Super Bowl, then got injured running out onto the field. So, but I mean, we gotta hope he re-signs here because he's the heartbeat of this defense. You could even say he does a little bit more, like he's more impactful than Fred Warner. And I'm not saying Greenlaw is better than Warner, but when Greenlaw's on the field, you know he's on the field, and he brings that energy. He's a true captain, and I think we got to keep him on this team. He's the heartbeat of that defense. Without Greenlaw, our defense looks way different. And then someone said in your chat, Greenlaw was setting the tone in the Super Bowl. Man, the Chiefs couldn't do anything. If you kind of look at it, the Eagles and the Niners, the way they started off that Super Bowl defensively, it kind of looked the same. Like the Niners, when Greenlaw was clamping Travis Kelce, and then he got injured, and then Travis Kelce had a game, right? So you got to bring back Greenlaw. Greenlaw over Hufanga any day of the week. 10 out of 10 times you ask me, it's Dre Greenlaw.
When I was watching the Super Bowl, I couldn't help myself whenever they said, Travis Kelce has no catches for no yards. What's happening? I was like, he had one catch for 1 yard against San Francisco until Dre Greenlaw got hurt. Like, This has been done before, albeit, San Francisco didn't finish the job. But I agree with you. Like, Dre Greenlaw is more important than Talanoa Hufanga. I think Hufanga is going to get a 4-year deal, 3-year deal somewhere. Like, some team will pay for Talanoa Hufanga. I've been saying the Chargers, the Rams make sense. The Lions, maybe. Like, there are teams that will pay up for Talanoa Hufanga. But for Dre Greenlaw, I think a lot of the connection fans have with him is very similar to what happened with Willis and Bowman, right? Two great linebackers. Now, in Willis and Bowman's case, Willis retired and Bowman got to be the number one guy in San Francisco, which he always wanted to be. I do wonder if Dre Greenlaw, yes, maybe he wants to be in San Francisco. Robert Saleh is back. Lenore, Warner, Kittle, all those guys are saying bring him back to San Francisco for at least one more year. Yep. I do wonder if his aspirations are, that sounds great. I want to be there, but Fred's there. And it's not a knock on Fred, but I want that green dot. I want to be the number one guy on a defense, wearing the green dot, being a captain, and holding down the fort for the defense over the middle. Whereas in San Francisco, he's never going to be that guy as long as Fred's still there.
No, but like I said, he's got to realize, if like I just said, if I'm Greenlaw's agent, I'm telling you, yo, Greenlaw, I think you can get more money, stay one more year, and then go out there and get a linebacker one job. But it's like, what team do you think Greenlaw would go to? That's actually that's a question I have for you. What team do you think Greenlaw what team needs a linebacker number one? The Cowboys?
Cowboys make some sense. I mean, the Commanders obviously very similar to Deebo Samuel, like Adam Peters there, Bobby Wagner's there. They play similar branded defense. You can maybe, I don't think he'd go there, but he went to school in Arkansas. Maybe he doesn't mind going to Tennessee. I don't think that'll happen, but they're a younger team, a younger defense.
I could see that.
They need a linebacker. I can also see him going to the Texans. Go play with Alshire. Now, I don't know if that'll change, and I don't know if he'll get the green dot or not, but there are some connections there as well. I don't know exactly where Greenlaw's heart is at, obviously, but if he wants to be the number one guy in a weird way, and I hate this, the Kansas City Chiefs may need a linebacker. They have Drew Tranquil, sure, but Nick Bolton's a free agent, And I can easily see them giving a call to Greenlaw saying, hey, look, we like what you got. You played against us a couple of times. You're phenomenal. I could very easily see Dre Greenlaw playing for the Kansas City Chiefs next year. And I'd hate it so much.
You just put that on. You just put that out into the universe and watch it happen now. Watch it happen. Yeah, if he went to the Chiefs, I would honestly. I don't. You know what? I don't even want. You did not say that. I'm wiping it out of my head. You did not just say that right now. Not thinking about that. Not. I don't want to think about that. But, yeah. It like. I do understand why Greenlaw wants to be a linebacker. When you want to have you want to be the man. You want to be the man of your own team. And do I think Greenlaw could be a man of his own team, be a captain, be a leader on that defense? 1,000%. Do I think he should do it this year? No. Wait till next year. But for me, I don't know. I think he would go. I think the Texans would be the best fit for him because Al-Shaair is great, but I would take Greenlaw over him. But the Chiefs, now that you said it, I wouldn't be surprised.
It makes
man.
sense.
It does make sense, dude. I don't want to say it, but it's like Rachel said, Lord Jesus, not the Chiefs. Yes, I don't want it to be the Chiefs, but would I be shocked if it happened? No, it would not shock me at all.
So let's say in this world, Deebo Samuel's gone, Hufanga's gone, and Dre Greenlaw's also gone.
Yeah,
I think losing one of those guys wouldn't hurt your defense or wouldn't hurt, the locker room too much. But you lose 2 or 3 of those guys, 2 or 3 tone setters.
Changes up the defense a lot.
Well, off the air, I asked you, do you think San Francisco could win the Super Bowl this year? And you said no. And I was like, interesting. Okay. But now I think about it, and I think they could still do it. But you lose 3 tone-setting players, 3 emotional leaders. That does take a big hit out of you. 1 guy, whatever, but 3, that's a pretty big deal for a team.
Yeah, well, losing those big. Like, I think even if we keep these guys, I wouldn't like. Listen, I'm trying to be as realistic as possible. Let's say we keep Greenlaw, let Deebo go. We get some more replacements. We have a great draft. I wouldn't be surprised if we could make it to the Super Bowl, make a run. It's just, I don't want to say that because I've said that so many years. We make it to the Super Bowl and then we lose. I'm trying to keep myself cool. I don't want to say we're going to the bowl, we're winning the bowl. Even though I posted an Instagram reel, it got like, I don't know how many views. Got like, I think over 10K, and everyone was like flaming me because I was like, 49ers winning the Super Bowl, we're going back. And then everyone in the comments is like, yo, be realistic. If I was to be realistic, wouldn't surprise me if we made it back to the Super Bowl, losing those 3 key voices in our locker room, which I don't think Deebo's really a big voice in the locker room. Like, no. I don't know. I think Greenlaw is huge. I think our biggest free agent signing this offseason, it has to be Greenlaw. It has to be Greenlaw. I think he's more of a priority over Purdy right now. I think. Well, we can. Well, no. Because listen, you might be a Purdy guy. I'm a Purdy guy. I got an Iowa State jersey of Purdy literally in my closet. Love Purdy, but it's just maybe we play Purdy out on his rookie deal for 1 more year, sign Greenlaw back, and that's been my thing, man. I listen. I think Purdy's worth. I don't know. I would want to pay Purdy 40.
Okay.
Like it part of me, I love Purdy. I love him. But it's just I would want to play him out on he has one more year. Why not? Why not try? Because then we have even more cap space. We can sign Greenlaw. But yeah.
You said that Dre Greenlaw was this team's most important impending free agent.
Yeah.
My next question was going to be, are we sure the San Francisco 49ers need Dre Greenlaw in 2025? And when I say need, I mean like their winning is linked and connected to him being back on the team. When I think about players that you have to have on the field to win, I think of Brock Purdy, Christian McCaffrey, George Kittle, Nick Bosa, Fred Warner, Diamador Lenore. Yes, Greenlaw means so much, but am I wrong to believe that there are younger linebackers, which linebackers can play for a long time, but there's always a rotation, right? 2 or 3 years gone, 2 or 3 years gone. And then you get one of these great guys like Fred and like Dre, you want to keep him around for forever. But am I wrong to believe that, well, yes, you want Greenlaw back and the emotional connection is very high between him and the players, the Niners don't necessarily need Dre Greenlaw back to go all the way.
No, but it's just, this is a question for you. Who would we get if Greenlaw left? And I like D Winters, but is D Winters a start? Like, listen, D Winters had a huge jump from last season to this season. Huge jump. If he can make another one of those jumps, maybe. Or maybe the Niners draft Jalen Walker from Georgia. Like, I don't know. It's just, who would we get? Who would be a Greenlaw replacement? Like,
right. Like that's the big question, right? You are letting one of your leaders go, one of your best players, one of the best coverage linebackers in football leave. How do you replace that? I know there was I think it was Jeremy Fowler said Jamie Sherwood from the Jets last year, who was very similar to Greenlaw in a lot of ways, but Greenlaw's a really good player. That's obviously one potential candidate. Undersaw last year with the Jets. You bring him over to San Francisco and see what he can do. There's been some talks because the Chiefs only have like $100,000 in cap space that maybe they'll trade Drew Tranquil away, which maybe San Francisco gets him for like a 4th-round pick. I think that is a potential option. But I also don't believe that, like, yes, you want to have the linebacker. Yes, you want to have the coverage player across and next to Fred Warner. I also wonder if San Francisco's a little comfortable letting Greenlaw walk, signing a, not subpar, but a lesser linebacker, whether it is D Winters or
Devondre Campbell.
God. I mean, honestly, they can go get Michael Kendricks or Eric Kendricks this year, who burned them last offseason, and that wouldn't be a bad idea. But I wonder if they're okay with signing a ton of edge rushers and is piling money into the trenches in order to, hey, make the secondary's life easier and the linebacker's life easier. I wonder if there's alternate routes they can take to maybe not say, look, we have to get Greenlaw back. We can also pay here instead and it not hurt us too much.
I kind of agree. I kind of agree with you. It's just, if we can figure out the edge rush position, we can figure out the D line and just put all of our money into there, maybe we do that. Like, the Eagles kind of did that. They signed a random guy off of the practice squad from the Saints, Zach Bond, and the guy's turned into a Pro Bowl linebacker. I'm not saying we're going to do the same thing, because I don't know how that guy came out of nowhere, but maybe doing that could be good. Take less stress off of the secondary, because if our D-line and edge rusher is that good, getting to the quarterback that quick, then maybe we do just need a Fred Warner and an Eric Kendricks. I wouldn't want Eric Kendricks since he burned us last offseason. When he did that, I was like, yeah, what the hell? You want to go to the Cowboys? Sure, whatever. But I kind of agree with you. It's just, I love Greenlaw, man. He's the heart of the defense. When Greenlaw was out of the lineup, you saw our defense wasn't the best. When he came back into that Rams game, they had 6 points? It's just our offense couldn't get going because Purdy, and I think that was a rain game. Yeah, Purdy in the rain. Not the greatest quarterback since he has small hands, but I don't know. I just feel Greenlaw is the heart of this defense, and without Greenlaw, we don't have that. Fred Warner brings energy, blah, 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 but I just think Greenlaw is just – I just love Greenlaw. I think it's because just I'm a big Greenlaw guy. Love Greenlaw. So, but I do understand what you kind of said. Just addressing the trenches, edge rusher, D line, see what we can do there. Walter Nolan, it's one guy I love. But I semi agree, but I still want Greenlaw. I love Greenlaw. I think personally we need Greenlaw.
All right, to end today, I'm going to ask you. Are they staying or are they going? And give me one place you believe they could land if it's not in San Francisco. All right.
Got you.
Talanoa Hufanga.
Chargers. I like when you said Chargers. Give me Chargers.
Okay, so Talanoa Hufanga's going to SoCal, back to SoCal where he was in college at USC. Going to go play for Jim Harbaugh and, funny enough, Navarro Bowman out there with the Chargers. I like that a lot. All right, Dre Greenlaw, staying or is he going?
I think you know my answer. He's staying, baby. He's staying with the 49ers. He's staying.
All right. And then we know Deebo Samuel is going, but what do you think they can get for him? Give me a trade package, and which team do you think makes the most sense for Deebo?
I'm going to say a team that we haven't said yet. I'm going to go a little bit outside of the box. I'm going to say Deebo Samuel will be he's going to be going to the Atlanta Falcons. And I think we'll get a 5th, 6th round pick for him. I think he's going to go to the Falcons. I don't know why. I feel like the Falcons always sign guys like that. They've signed Kirk to that big deal. Wouldn't be surprised if they signed Deebo to a big deal. And I think there's some pieces away from being a playoff team. I think Penix is pretty good. So I do think Deebo. I do think Deebo Pittsburgh as well. Bobo just said Pittsburgh. Wouldn't be surprised if he goes there. I'm going to think a little bit outside of the box. Go. Give me the Atlanta Falcons.
I will say this. I don't know how their money situation is, but Deebo Samuel in those throwbacks with the red helmets, I mean, it was pretty dirty.
Sick. And Bobo just said Hufanga to Pittsburgh. Imagine Hufanga to Pittsburgh. That would look pretty sick. That would look sick.
Polamalu
all over again.
Hair-wise, and the tongue and ties out there. It'd be really fun. Yeah. I will say this, but Bobo says Deebo to the Las Vegas Raiders. Pete Carroll and Deebo Samuel on the same offense.
That would look really weird. That would look weird.
I wouldn't hate it though. They need a receiver. Brock Bowers, Deebo Samuel, they got something cooking out there in Las Vegas, maybe.
They do. I just think Deebo wants to win now. I don't think he'd want to like Raiders are kind of a team, I think, down the road. Fluffy Ninja, I totally agree with you. Yes. This is what I said in my live earlier today with Ryan Janzi. I was like, if there's one team that if I could send Deebo to, it'd be Jacksonville, just so he can be a 3-14 guy every single year. I would love to do that. Send him to Jacksonville. Hey,
go ahead and join Eric Armstead out there in Florida in the Everglades. But Maj, tell us where you can find you.
They both have podcasts too.
That is an easy connection to make right
there. Boom. Right there. Right there.
I don't think there'd be many people tuning into the Eric Armstead Deebo Samuel show on a weekly basis. I don't think so
would not. Not me. I would tune into the first episode to see how it is, but then I'd probably watch like 10 minutes and then leave.
Two of the worst podcast hosts I've ever seen.
Oh, Deebo's podcast? Don't even get me started on Deebo's podcast.
It's terrible.
It is one of the worst. He doesn't even talk. It's just the girl talking and asking him questions, and he has like, what do you think about the Super Bowl? Oh, it was good.
Right.
That's it. That's literally all it is. He doesn't really explain it. He doesn't give you like analysis. He doesn't really do anything, and he should know a lot more than we do, but kind of seems like he's just like a me out there and doesn't like, he's just like, oh, how did you think about the Super Bowl? Oh, it was great. Yeah, Eagles defense played well. Like that's it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
If you think Deebo Samuel was a vocal leader in the locker room, watch this podcast. It'll give you a pretty clear answer as to no, he was not. He was nowhere near to a vocal leader. No. But Maj, thank you for joining the show. Tell us where we can find you on social media or on YouTube.
Maj Sports on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram. If anyone has seen, my Instagram reels have kind of been blowing up a little bit. I've been kind of going popping on Instagram. So maybe you've seen me. Right. I just dropped some hilarious takes on there, but yeah, it's Maj Sports, MAJ Sports.
Awesome. Thank you, everyone in the YouTube chat. Fluffy Ninja, Rob D, Leon Sandcastle, Bobo, Lori Matthews, Kawachipto, so many more. Maj, thank you so much. Hope to do this again very soon. And as always, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, leave that review on the audio podcasting platforms. And until next time, my name is Sterling Bennett, joined by Maj, and stay faithful.